It's the Floating Yogi, and you already know what it is. It's the Floating Yogi's Book Club. So come on in, invite a friend. Matter of fact, invite about 10, because you already know we going in. Last week's episode, on the last episode of Floating Yogi's Book Club. Oh, we started getting deep. We started getting super deep. Straightening out the way that the mind turns perception around. Talking about getting the captain to see the differences within reality, not just, this pen, can you see it in the rest of what's going on in life? Can you start to doubt your mind to allow space for something you didn't think could be that great to come through? Because it's got to be greater than you think. So, if you want to be part of the discourse, if you want to be part of the dialogue, ask some questions, chop it up, I encourage you to hit that link at the bottom, courses.ue.dc, and that will send you to the website, UEDC. One of the people who helped me be me, helped me do what I do. UE is part of the crew. Daggone it, they are the crew, actually. It's where everybody comes together. It's where we can give and offer these services so we can learn a little bit more about our mental, physical, and energetic well-being. How can we be in a state of better well-being? Speaking of some of the people who help me be me, help me do what I do, we also got Lifeform. They're part of the crew too. Lifeform, the mats is fire, yo. I'm telling you what it is. Slip resistant is what I like to practice on. I hear things about, it's heavy, but have you folded it up and put it in your suitcase when you travel? These are the things that are important. Don't roll it up. Fold it up. Yeah, try to do that, but a man do it. Moving forward, another one of the people who help me be me and help me do what I do, we got Payoga. They part of the crew too. My man DJ Tony is from a dimension where people are our greatest resource, and daggone it, he really is like a phenomenal resource for me. And I encourage you to see how he can brighten your day and make be a useful resource for you. If you could tell them what it is, what you do, how you're over here and part of the crew, man, I'm going to invite 10 friends in.
Well, my little piece of the puzzle is love, breathwork, and prayer. I believe we need to love each other. But what the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of. And my also personal meditation journey is started with 1 minute a day. And that's about 5 deep breaths. After the length of time I've been doing it, 5 deep breaths could be more like 2 or 3 minutes for me. But still, this is how I share how I got to where I am. And how I appreciate, respect, and why I study meditation. And yoga's in there. Yoga's sprinkled in there too. So we share some love, we do some breath work. And I was raised in church. And when you're raised in church, you know Jesus is kind of always going to be there. Like, you can't get rid of him. Like, you want to, it's just a reflex to call out, God and Jesus sometimes for no reason. So
take the wheel.
I do a quick prayer. So, love, breath work, prayer, just about every morning. I'm up. And I am trying to share love and connect with you guys. Right after I do that, I hop on over to UE.dc, where I join the growth gang. Simple question. Are you moving and meditating, or bullshitting on your greatness? If you are growing, if you are moving, if you are meditating, then hop on over to UE.dc on IG and click on that Move to Meditator button so that tomorrow, when I do it, I can tag you in it to remind you to move and meditate again. Join the growth gang. Elevate yourself, flow with us.
That's all it is. Let us know. Let us know what you're doing. Welcome. Man, he just slid through too. Another one of the dudes who helped me be me. And as part of the crew, we got my dude Brent. I encourage you to check him out. See how he can be an asset to you. Maybe you need some digital ads. Maybe you need something. All those spicy things that I just be reposting coming straight from him. All those ads and digital content, check him out. So, where we at? It's been a lot, yo. It's been a lot. It's been a fantastic week. It's so much going on. While I'm looking, alright. So the end of the last chapter, the captain, the sergeant, and the corporal came in, and they were like, "Whoa, it's a big pig! I can't move this big pig." Okay, cool. And then the captain come out. He like, "Man, this is why they pay me the big bucks." With all the yoga he done there did to fix his back a little bit, get him on the right track. Now he picking up this pig like, this John ain't nothing. Come on, man. What you talking about? Kicking his leg, I'm getting all saucy with it. Yeah. Whoa. Chill out, man. Stop showing off. Just because you feel better, you don't need to show off. You don't need to be braggadocious with it. Just let things be. Hey, what up, E-son? And Sava, welcome. Alright, let's see. So, we're reading How Yoga Works. We're on chapter 24. Let's go. Second week of August. A few days later, when the sergeant had gone off to the side of the room to sleep, and all was dark and quiet, something woke me up. It was a noise. The noise of a small creature in pain. It pulled at my heart, and it strained my ears to catch exactly where it was coming from. It sounded as if it were perhaps in Basuku's cell. I decided to take a chance. If something were really wrong, it was worth the risk and of some trouble to find out. Basuku, are you awake? I whispered. The little whining noises stopped, and all I could hear was Basuku's labored breathing. Basuku, are you alright? I heard him shift around on the floor, but still no answer. I thought back to lunchtime. Basuku's boys seemed to be doing the cooking themselves, and sometimes they got a little free with the oil and chili peppers, but I didn't recall it being one of those days. Basuku, I whispered once more, a little louder. What's wrong? Is there anything I can do for you? All right, he said in a perfectly normal voice. There's something you can do for me, Miss Friday. And then there was a mysterious pause. Thoughts flashed through my mind about what my mission might be. Digging through the wall between us to save him from some mortal injury. Breaking out of the back window to fetch help for him from town. I need, he said with a tinge of embarrassment, I need you to tell me how that blasted Western stretch pose. You see, I sit down like you said to, and I stick out my legs, but I can hardly touch my knees, but less my toes. Is there some kind of trick to it? Come on, you can tell me. I promise I won't leak out to anyone else unless I ask you first. I giggled despite myself. Basuku, dear Basuku, what are you talking about? How do you know what I said about the back stretch pose? Do the walls of this place have ears? That they do. And I heard a smile in his voice. I'm surprised you haven't discovered it yet. Now let's see, middle cell, Miss Friday. Go press your ear on the wall about 2 feet up off the ground. Say 6 inches from the corner where the poop hole is, toward the front. I did just that and my jaw dropped. I could distinctly hear snoring from the sergeant's room. I guessed as clear as if I were standing right there myself. Oh, Basuku, that's wonderful. I can hear the sergeant clear as day. Odd thing, too, if you ask me, muttered Basuku. He's been sleeping like a baby for weeks now. You'd think he'd plump out of money for liquor, but he's just gone to sell your rugs. And they bring good money, I tell you. I haven't eaten this well in years. Oh, it seemed like somebody turning the inside of the jail to outside of the jail. Hey, what it do, Banu? Welcome. I smiled to myself again. Now that Mr. Busuku may be causing your feet to grow further away from your knees, you see. And I went to give him a few tips about what he could do to help. Thus began our secret nighttime lessons together. And I was more careful with what I said to the captain in my other classes, knowing that our audience may be larger than I thought. Ooh. Okay, changing up the teaching a little bit. After we finished taking in the poses that week, I sat with the captain as usual to talk a bit. I thought of something I'd forgotten to say the week before. Captain, there was something more I wanted to mention about the idea of focus. I began. I wanted to make sure that you understood clearly that focusing in a negative way, in a vain way, on your body as you get stronger and leaner would actually set you back in your progress. ... He nodded. I understand. And you were right. It makes sense. It's one of those things you know by instinct is right, the moment you hear it. Good. Thank you, I replied. But I also wanted to say that it's not vain at all to feel an honest happiness, a healthy sort of pride about the progress that you've made, and how good you really do look and feel when you're doing your yoga regularly. And for good reasons. With the idea that you might help others, and then even when others see you, they admire your progress. It's a good thing. You are fulfilling your goal of being an inspiration for them to heal themselves too. He nodded again. And I have to say that even his face was changing dramatically. His eyes had a crisp clarity about them, and his skin was fairly gleaming. And I was thinking, about the difference, I continued. But it's such a fine line, and we're all so weak, you see, and we can slip so easily from being honestly happy about feeling better into thoughts about vanity and competitiveness. And it occurred to me that one thing to keep an eye on as we continue to make progress could be our feelings about others making the same progress. Ooh, she going in now. Because that's it right there. That's where it really starts. There's so many gatekeepers out here in this world. They're trying to hold people back for whatever reason. And a lot of it is their idea of success and their idea of their goal is typically looking down at other people or down on other people. Because if someone else is on their level, then they'd have to see their vulnerabilities, their imperfections. They'll have to be the image they put off. And a lot of people put off a fairly perfect, air quote, image. Just my 2 cents. All right, let's see. If you were doing yoga because you want to inspire others to do it too, so they can heal themselves too, then if someone like Sergeant began to do yoga and suddenly got very good at it, able to do things we ourselves haven't been able to do even after years of work, then I think our feelings about that would tell the story. Oh, going in right now. That's exactly what it is. If our motivation was pure, then we'd be excited and supportive. We'd let him know that what a wonderful job he was doing. And if, on the other hand, we had started to slip into vanity, then I think we'd feel threatened somehow. We'd feel unhappy about his progress. And then that very basic, disappointing form of dislike for someone would really start to choke on our own channels and ruin whatever progress we've been making. Do you see? I do see, said the captain frankly. And I can tell you freely that my motivation, as always, was sort of mixed. A little hope to inspire the men, and also hoping that they'd be impressed with me. I think all of us have the same problem, I mused. And ultimately, it's the cause of the ups and downs in our lives. He opened his mouth to start to ask a question, but somehow I sensed that the right time for those particular ideas was still to come, perhaps soon. But what I really wanted to talk about today, I hurried on, was the idea that lies behind the concept of focus, because you'll be able to focus even better. This yoga seems to unravel like an onion skin. Laughed the captain. Facts. That is exactly how it works. It unravels like an onion skin. Once you hit one layer, then you realize, then you start to get awareness of what's on that layer. And then it goes deeper. So like, let's start with the shape of the poses. Then from the shape of the poses, let's start with the breath. Then we'll go to the shape of the poses. Then we'll go from the shape of the poses to the movement. Then we'll go to the muscles. Then we'll go from the muscles to the circulatory system. Circulatory system, maybe we tap into the lymphatic system and start to feel those different fluids, sinus, snot, not even just snot or sinus, but the other fluids that flow through the body. Then we can tap into the nervous system. We can not just feel like, oh, I can feel this part of the body, but start to feel the electrical signal itself that's going through. It's layers to it. How deep you want to go? That's on you. It's like an onion skin, laughed the captain. Ah ha 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 ha. Every time I think we've gotten to what lies at the bottom of everything else, you pull a layer off and show me another beneath it. Is there no idea at the very bottom? Ooh. And then I answered, later. He said it with me, like a chorus together, and we both laughed. Because he knew what it was about. Like, I could tell you now, but it ain't going to tell you. You don't have the right knowledge to process it. We getting there. We're going to be there. Just patience. I got you. Later. Anyway, here's something to think about when we talk about focus and how it affects your channels and inner winds. Normally, when someone tells you to focus, we have this picture in our minds of zeroing in on a thing like a target. But if you really think about it, something else has to happen before the focus. I mean, you don't simply throw your attention out and hook the object you want to focus on, just like that. Rather, there's a process of elimination, like walking up into a large group of people, trying to find a friend of yours who's there. You don't just bump straight into him or her usually. Usually it's a process. You work through the crowd of people, looking one way and then the other, eliminating groups and individuals as you narrow down the search for your friend. You arrive at where your friend is, really, by a process of weeding out where your friend isn't. Come on now, pay attention to how the mind works. And focus, you see, it's the same. Even just focusing on a smudge on the wall as you hold a yoga pose involves gaining some awareness of your other surroundings, and then turning them out to arrive at your focus, and then tuning them out to arrive at your focus on the smudge. In the Master's short book, this process is called withdrawing the mind from the outside world. Pratyahara, one of the 8 limbs of yoga. Any questions, gonna pin that, right? To arrive at that clear, pinpoint inner focus, which is so helpful for clearing the inner channels, he says it like this. Learn to withdraw the mind from your physical senses. Freed from its ties, the outer object, the mind can arrive at its own real nature. I'm going to read it again because it's the Yoga Sutra 254, right? Learn to withdraw them. Oh, and that's also why I got like the mystic voice going on. So just rock with me. Hearts in the chat if you're rocking with it. Or hundreds in the chat if you're rocking with it. Learn to withdraw the mind from your physical senses. Freed from its ties to outer objects, the mind can arrive at its own real nature. Chapter 2, verse 54. And there are a lot of levels also to withdrawing the mind from the outer objects, to weeding out extra objects in order to arrive at the one we really want to focus on. I gazed around the room. In fact, I can think of one very basic level right here, in front of us. The captain glanced around, so accustomed to his office that he literally didn't see what I was looking at. This place. I said, waving my arms around the old stacks of papers and the little piles of dirt everywhere and the cups and bowls of this place and lying atop any open surface. This place is a mess. Again, the captain looked around with a little bit more slowly this time, but then his eyes came back to mine with that look that says, doesn't matter that much to me. Out loud, he said, does the fact that my office is, say, a little cluttered really have that much to do with my yoga? The master seemed to think so, I responded, because he says, the first commitment is to cleanliness. Come on. Get y'all dirty asses in the shower, inside and out. Clean your mind. Do some chlorophyll. Chlorophyll's a good cleaner. It's also a deodorizer, so, I encourage you to, it ain't expensive. I don't necessarily encourage you making it, but it ain't expensive. And take a few drops a day in your water. I take it like a shot. Bow! Done. Alright, the captain looked unimpressed, but he had a good mind, and he wasn't afraid to think things out. So I knew it would work if I went through the whole explanation. Notice she has to go through a whole explanation after explaining, nah, this is in the book, this is part of the process, alright, but I still have to coax the individual and get them on board and still ease their mind, per se. Alright. It all goes back to working on the channels from the outside, I began, knocking on the pipes. He smiled, tapping on the desk with his knuckles. Right, I said. And so far we've talked about a number of things you can do from the outside of your body which go down and affect the subtle whims on the inside, like the yoga poses themselves and breathing into a very smooth, conscious way. And there's this constant interchange going on, you see, this constant interplay of the forces outside of, there's a constant interchange going on, you see. This constant interplay of the forces outside and inside of you. You get frantic at work often enough and it ties up the inner channels. That causes an injury to your back. Actually, just a reflection of something going on deeper in the channels. That make you grumpy, which tightens the choke points more. And then because you don't feel well, you're not as careful about things in general. And one of those things is, just simple neatness, tidiness, a lack of the very basic kind of cleanliness. Plain old tidiness is almost a sure sign that your channels are untidy too. Deep down inside, the thought winds are jumbled up, ready to turn into a new choke point at any time. 1,000,000% agree with it. She's tapping into the 8 limbs of yoga. That's Santosha, one of the niyamas. I'm sorry, that's Santosha. No, Saucha, cleanliness. Santosha is contentment. I be rocking with contentment. I'm a rather content guy. Simple man. But that is just like, if your room's a mess, you're gonna move a certain way. If your house is a mess, you're gonna move a certain way. If your car's a mess, you're gonna move a certain way. If you carry a bag and your bag's a mess, again, it's gonna be stumbles in between a frequently visited place. Why not just have it clean? Alright. And so, a very simple and effective way to take advantage of the interchange and interplay between the outside and the inside is just to, I wave my arms around again. Clean the place up. If where you live, if where you work, and especially the place where you do your yoga poses is clean and tidy, then it's reflected back upon the inner winds. I pause. And the channels loosen up and the poses work even better on fixing you, on keeping you strong and healthy, finished the captain. And you see, something else is at work here too. If there's just less junk around the room. When you go to focus and fix your mind on a single point, and there's not many things that the mind has to sift through to get at what you want to focus on. It's a lot easier to find a friend in a group of 10 people, especially if they're all lined up. In a crowd of 100 all milling around, less effort, much less effort to focus all day long. Focus is like food for the mind. The mind thrives on it. And so do the good inner winds. The good inner winds thrive on focus. The good inner winds thrive on focus. So that disarray, that ADHD, which, they said I had. I tried them drugs. I didn't like the way it made me feel. So I ain't do it. But this yoga has helped me in the later years drastically make some changes. Oh, we cooking. So drastic changes. My focus, crazy. I see what that looking like. Alright, we don't have time for that one. Oh, we definitely don't. Okay, moving forward. And once you're done with your room, I said, you can go further. I mean, don't just tidy things up. Throw out absolutely as many things as you can. Half the things that fill up your house at any given moment are things that we don't even use anymore at all. And a good part of the other half is things that we rarely use or don't really need to use anyway. And these extra things in our house, you see, they're tricky. I mean, it looks like they're just sitting there, pretty harmless. And that's why we let them stay there. But if I say right now, think of some things in your house, I pause again. So he could do it. And he got sort of an odd look on his face. Then you can remember a great many things lying around in your house, whether you either use them or not. And that proves, you see, that they were taking up part of your mind. You can remember them because information about each of them is stored in your mind. And the mind, although we don't often think of it this way, has only just so much capacity. Every time you acquire another object, every time there's one more thing cluttering up your home, then there's one more thing cluttering up your mind as well. And as the mind goes, so do the inner winds and the choke points and the channels. What you're saying then, observed the captain, is that the more unused, useless things I have lying around, the worse it is for my back and even my peace of mind, because it hurts my channels. Just so, I said with a smile. And when you're done clearing out the extra things around your house, then you have to go to your very way of life and do the same. I'm gonna run that back. And then you have to go to your very way of life and do the same. Throw out extra things that you don't really have time to do well so you can focus. Throw out the extra things you say that you don't really need to say anyway. Learn to be with your friends, a few good friends, and a happy sort of silence that you can both understand and appreciate. Cut down on all the extra useless outside stimulation of your physical senses. Too much food, too much news, too much entertainment, too much physical gratification with the opposite sex. All of them fine in themselves, all of them healthy, but in moderation, in amounts that you can focus upon and enjoy deeply. And then the mind will be free to come outside and arrive at its own nature. Concentration, contemplation, uninterrupted attention, medicine for the channels, medicine for the inner winds, and so for healthy and happy state of mind that lasts. It's all kind of cleanliness in a way. Tidiness on the outside, tidiness on the inside. The captain nodded, but his eyes were fixed up somewhere over my head. And I knew his focus had wandered off. And then, after a moment, he snapped back. Well, he said, his voice shaking a bit, I guess that means I'll have to get to work tidying up my home before what? I asked, completely unaware of where he was going. Well, before you come visit next week, he smiled nervously. For dinner. He added abruptly. She getting a dinner date? She getting a foodie call? Okay. Ooh, where we at? Where we at? This next chapter long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
How we feeling?
That 7 pages is gonna take about 30. Yeah.
Well,
So we're gonna pause that. We're gonna pause that. We're gonna run that next week. We've been staying consistent with 2 chapters a week.
the notion that disorganized space or things translate to a disorganized mind really makes me think about autism and how we are evolving, especially technologically from when this book was written, to the point now where looking at the way my mind works and my space works, like, yeah, when you're a kid, you might say it's an organized mess just because you don't want to clean it up. But functionally, sometimes thoughts aren't always best clean.
I feel that.
So I just want to give a little pushback.
Nah, I feel that because that's similar to where I'm at with it. Oh, this was published in 2020. That's similar.
Oh, is it ancient?
Nah. This is new.
But it's quoted in an ancient book, right?
Nah. The plot is set in 1100 AD in India.
Wait. So, okay, so like, the book that she was carrying, it's all fictional, but built on yoga principles?
No, that. I mean, that might be a fictional book that they're specifically talking about, but there is a book similar to it. They call the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and that's what those sutras and those chapters that I was reading are from. I'm looking for the book. We got like 2-3 copies in here, 4 copies.
One.
Yeah.
Now, how old is that book?
That one was written on like banana leaves.
Yeah.
So we got some modern day versions with some extra love in here. People put their own. Sri Swami Satyananda translated it, so we can understand Sanskrit because it's not English characters. I know I'm a little far away. Let's see. It's not English characters. It's Sanskrit. So, we need someone to translate it. But I think so far the book, this new age book, is doing a fantastic job of showing how these different principles interplay in the different ways that they come in. Because a lot of this stuff is common knowledge, but it's applying it to our life and creating a connection. That's why it's real important to have someone you can go to about it and trust and talk about. Because otherwise information can be very misleading. We have information bias and the mind is strong. What was the joke that I was saying last week? Well, I think I might have said it last week, but people don't doubt their mind. They think that they're so right all the time, and then the second they think that I'm never wrong, I'm not this, and then they walk into the kitchen and forget what they walked in there for. walked in their room, forgot what they walked up 3 flights of stairs for. But at the same time, they never wrong and they don't doubt their mind. Come on now, we human. Please bring your humanity to the table because mine's there in full fashion. Mansplaining. You might not see it on YouTube, but if you on IG, you use it. Like, nah, what's up? We full human over here. The other stuff, I'm gonna figure out. It might be some other stuff in here, but as far as the humans I know, I'm pretty human. As far as I know, I don't know what to compare it to or against. So, hey, we got a badge. Come on, thanks Brent for purchasing a badge, sharing some love, some support. Appreciate you, my guy. Yeah. So I'm loving this. I'm loving these breakdowns of this book. It might not be the sexiest thing or the most attention grabber, but it definitely does allow us to go deep into what the real yoga is, how it is, and like chop it up, see what's going on, see how we can bring some of these off-mat lessons into our daily life. Ooh. With that being said, social media, we up out of here though. We about to go. So I highly encourage you to check out all of the partners, all of the people who help me be me, help me do what I do. I encourage you to check out the IG stories on UE.DC, to check out the Tulum retreat. We going to Tulum in February. Check out teacher training that's popping off. There's so much amazing things. I just encourage you to be part of the Growth Gang because we out here. If it ain't about growth, it ain't about me.